Good evening, it's 8 o'clock. The top headlines tonight. The world risks nuclear Armageddon, says the US President Joe Biden. Putin's nuclear threat is not a joke, he says in address to his workers. Meanwhile, President Putin last week says it's America which set the precedent for nuclear weapons. The Nobel Peace Prize choice, a strong anti-Putin message by the Nobel panel. Russian-Ukrainian human rights organizations win, as does a Belarus human rights advocate. An outstanding effort to document war crimes, says the Nobel panel about the winners. India responds on why it didn't vote against China at the UN Human Rights Commission, saying we will not vote on a country-specific resolution. However, India says we expect China to respect human rights of minorities in the Xinjiang province, adding the situation is still not normal to China at the line of actual control. Name your successor, the government asked Chief Justice Lalit, who will retire in November. This means that no more collegium meetings on appointing judges can now be held under the current Chief Justice. There are 6 judges' vacancies currently in the Supreme Court. Justice Chandrachud is set to be the next Chief Justice. The rupee sinks to an all-time low, breaching 82 rupees to the dollar. It's below 82 rupees for the first time as the dollar's at a 2-decade high. Who will get the Sena symbol for a November by-election? The big fight. Uddhav tells the Election Commission current Chief Minister Shinde and others quit the party voluntarily. They can't get the symbol, and that 5 lakh affidavits will be filed in our support. India-UK tension over a proposed new free trade agreement as the UK Home Secretary targets Indians' illegal overstay. India responds saying that the UK has to address issues over mobility and migration. Meet India's Under-17 Women's World Cup football team. Grit, determination against all odds as India to host its first ever Under-17 World Cup tournament. Our lead story tonight, American President Joe Biden has said the world should prepare for a nuclear Armageddon, saying the risk of this is extremely real and that Russia's President Putin is not joking when he talks about using nuclear weapons. He said this is the worst crisis since the Cuba Missile Crisis. This, as President Putin had said last week, that it is America which had first set the precedent of using nuclear weapons.
Russian President Putin's threat to use nuclear weapons is not a joke, the US President has said. Putin has threatened using nuclear bombs amid the war in Ukraine, where Russian troops have suffered a series of setbacks, especially after Moscow's illegal annexation of 4 regions. Biden says Putin's threats have brought the world closer to Armageddon, or a catastrophic destruction, first time since the Cold War Cuban Missile Crisis 6 decades ago. Speaking to his party supporters, Biden said, "We have not faced the prospect of Armageddon since Kennedy and Cuban Missile Crisis." Putin not joking when he talks about potential use of tactical nuclear weapons or chemical weapons. Threat real since Russian military underperforming. The 70-year-old Russian President Vladimir Putin has repeatedly made thinly veiled threats of nuclear attacks recently.
Подчеркну это еще раз. Всеми имеющимися у нас средствами. А те, кто пытаются шантажировать нас ядерным оружием, должны знать, что роза ветров может развернуться и в их сторону.
Культуры и спорта, этот самый пресловутый коллективный Запад создает новые и новые проблемы, новые и новые кризисы. При этом
Analysts say this reflects Putin's growing desperation.
This is the last step for him. In a sense that this is suicidal. If he is ready for the step, it means that we are witnessing a dictator who is even worse than Stalin, I would say.
In Ukraine, President Zelensky has raised a fresh alarm of nuclear disaster in Zaporizhia, home to Europe's largest nuclear power plant.
Інформуємо партнерів про чергові прояви російського терору, про ракетні удари по Запоріжжю та інших містах України, про застосування іранських безпілотників проти наших людей та інфраструктури. Іран чомусь стверджує, що їх у нас немає, люди їх бачать у небі, ми їх збиваємо, а нам кажуть, що їх нібито немає. Що ж, знайдемо способи, щоб їх дійсно не було.
Military experts still believe that the risk of Russia deploying nuclear weapons is low, but concerns over Russian forces suffering reversals in some of the annexed Ukrainian territory, possibly provoking Putin to use nuclear weapons. Bureau Report, NDTV.
And the winners of this year's Nobel Peace Prize clearly carefully chosen to send out a strong anti-war and anti-Putin message. The Nobel Prize this year has gone to a human rights advocate from Belarus and also Russian and Ukrainian human rights organizations. The Nobel panel said that these people have done outstanding effort in documenting war crimes and human rights abuses.
This year's Peace Prize is awarded to human rights advocate Ales Bialyatsky from Belarus, the Russian human rights organization Memorial, and the Ukrainian human rights organization Center for Civil Liberties. Ales Bialyatsky was one of the initiators of the democracy movement that emerged in Belarus in the mid-1980s. He has devoted his life to promoting democracy and peaceful development in his home country.
The Nobel Committee's selection, a sharp critique of Russia's alleged war crimes, especially its illegal invasion of Ukraine. The Nobel Committee statement says the winners have made an outstanding effort to document war crimes, human rights abuses, as well as the abuse of power. One of the winners, the Center for Civil Liberties, was founded for the purpose of advancing human rights and democracy in Ukraine. After Russia invaded Ukraine, it has identified and documented Russian war crimes against the Ukrainian population. Another winner from Russia, human rights organization Memorial, which was shut down by the country's Supreme Court but kept on going. Memorial has been at the forefront of efforts to combat militarism and promote human rights and government based on the rule of law. The Nobel Committee has honored 3 outstanding champions of human rights, democracy and peaceful coexistence in neighbor countries Belarus, Russia and Ukraine. They've championed democracy even at heavy personal cost.
Look, I really honored and delighted this award was given to Ales Bialyatsky. Ales Bialyatsky is famous human rights defender in Belarus and in the world. He's actually honorable citizen of Paris. He is a wonderful person, and since 1995, he established the Human Rights Defenders Center Vesna in Belarus. He many times was in prisons for his views, for his intention, to protect people and human rights in our country. And of course, he deserves to be the winner of Peaceful Prize.
The President of France, Emmanuel Macron, who's been critical of Russia, was among the first to react. Bureau Report, NDTV.
And India has responded today on why it abstained from a key vote of the UN Human Rights Commission against China's human rights violations in Xinjiang province against Uyghur Muslims. India has said that we will not vote on a country-specific resolution, but asked China to respect human rights.
भारत का वोट उसकी लंबे समय के चली आ रही पोजीशन के अनुरूप है कि कंट्री स्पेसिफिक प्रस्ताव कभी मददगार नहीं होते हैं. भारत ऐसे मुद्दों से निपटने के लिए बातचीत के पक्षधर है. सिंगयांग उइगुर ऑटोनोमस रीजन के लोगों के मानवीय अधिकारों का सम्मान किया जाना चाहिए और उनकी जो मानवीय अधिकार को गारंटीड या रिस्पेक्ट करना चाहिए, इस पे जोर देना चाहिए. हमें उम्मीद है कि संबंधित पक्ष स्थिति को निष्पक्ष और ठीक रूप से संबोधित करेंगे. सिचुएशन अभी उस तरह से मैं उसको नहीं कहना चाहूँगा कि नॉर्मल है. इसमें कुछ पॉजिटिव स्टेप्स हुए हैं पर अभी भी कुछ और स्टेप्स बाकी हैं.
Meanwhile, the formal process for the appointment of the new Chief Justice of India has begun. This means that currently the current Chief Justice cannot appoint any new judges, or the collegium cannot meet to nominate new judges to the government. The Union Law Ministry today asked current Chief Justice Lalit to name his successor. There will be no collegium meetings in the last 30 days of the outgoing Chief Justice of India. Justice Lalit had a very short term which ends in November. The current Chief Justice had called a meeting on the 30th of September to appoint 4 judges, the vacancies which were there, but the collegium couldn't meet because the likely successor, Justice Chandrachud, couldn't attend. Chief Justice Lalit will now retire on the 8th of November, by which time the Supreme Court will have 6 vacancies. Justice Chandrachud is next in line to become the next Chief Justice of India. Well, let's go across to the other political news coming in. Well, there's a big battle now about who will get the Sena symbol for a November by-election in Mumbai. The battle now is getting sharper, with Chief Minister Eknath Shinde having written to the Election Commission and Uddhav responding today saying he's got 5 lakh affidavits in his support. You can see their workers signing affidavits in his support in Sena Bhavan. Also saying that since Chief Minister Eknath Shinde and other MLAs quit the Sena voluntarily, that they cannot have any stake to the symbol. Arvind, how much does that argument really hold water, that if you quit a party, you have no claim to, you can't stake the claim for the party symbol?
Sonia, Uddhav Thackeray, the former Chief Minister of Maharashtra, seems to be on a weak wicket here because Election Commission clearly goes by the number of MLAs and also the legislative wing and also the party office bearers, and whichever side holds the majority support of both the legislative wing and also the party office bearers, that particular side camp will be recognized as the original party, and then the symbol will be given to that particular faction. In this particular case, Eknath Shinde had filed an application or a petition before the Election Commission saying that he holds the majority support of both the legislative wing and also the party units, and that's why he said that he should be recognized as the original Shiv Sena party and the party symbol bound arrow should be allocated to him. That was his petition that was filed before the Election Commission, and today Uddhav Thackeray has filed an counter to this particular petition or a reply wherein he has said that all those MLAs who are with Eknath Shinde now, all those MLAs have voluntarily given up their membership, and that's why they should not be considered as MLAs, but because that particular matter is still pending adjudication before the Speaker, it's unclear whether the Election Commission will take it at the face value that all those MLAs have voluntarily given up their membership. Along with that, Uddhav Thackeray has also given a detailed list of the number of party workers and also office bearers who are in his camp, and he has also said the Election Commission, if Election Commission gives him time, he will be filing a detailed affidavit of over 5 lakh party workers and office bearers before the Election Commission, for which he has sought more time.
Right, and of course that key November by-election. But news just breaking right now, Arvind, that the CBI has charge sheeted. Well, RJD Chief Lalu Prasad Yadav, who's of course currently out on bail in a land for job scam, and has kept the doors open for more charge sheets. What's the news you got on that? Yeah,
Sonia, and setback to former Union Railways Minister Lalu Prasad Yadav, today the Central Bureau of Investigation has filed a charge sheet against him, naming him as an accused number 1 in the alleged land for job scam. So, according to our sources in the Central Bureau of Investigation, when Lalu Prasad Yadav was functioning as the Union Railways Minister from 2004 to 2009, in fact, in 7 occasions, he gave jobs to several people from Bihar in lieu of taking their land. So, what our sources are saying that all those 7 parcels of land to the tune of somewhere around over 4 crore, those lands were transferred or registered in the name of the family members of Lalu Prasad Yadav, including 2 daughters of Lalu Prasad Yadav, and that's why the agency has filed a corruption charge against Lalu Prasad Yadav, and also very importantly, further investigation has been kept open against other family members, that is the 2 daughters of Lalu Prasad Yadav.
Also, Arvind, but of course, your Deputy Chief Minister Tejasvi Yadav maintains that the CBI and ED can keep filing cases against them, but it's just political vendetta. How does the CBI respond to these charges, especially given now this latest charge sheet, which has come years after Lalu Yadav was Railways Minister?
Yeah, Sonia, though Tejasvi Yadav has not been named as an accused in this particular case, even in the FIR, but his statements during a press conference has not been taken lightly by the Central Bureau of Investigation, and that's why the agency has filed an application before the CBI court here in the national capital asking for the bail to be cancelled. A bail has been granted to Tejasvi Yadav in a completely different case, that is IRCTC case. Now the CBI wants that particular bail granted to Tejasvi Yadav to be cancelled because the agency alleges that he has threatened the Central Bureau of Investigation officers, thereby violating the bail condition. conditions.
Right, Arvind, so lots of action there on your beat. We'll keep coming back to you for more breaking news. But in other more serious news, well, the rupee is down to an all-time low, dropping by 15 paise to go below the 82 rupees mark to the dollar for the first time ever. So the rupee now down by 10.6% just this year. The latest drop is because of the massive US rate hikes and fears of global recession as being predicted by the World Bank and the IMF today. Also, rising oil prices, the OPEC cut and slowing exports have battered the rupee. The RBI continued today to sell forex reserves to defend the rupee. This comes as other currencies are also facing an onslaught against the dollar, which is at a two-decade high. And the rupee fell again today also after the World Bank slashed India's growth forecast yesterday by 1%. The markets, meanwhile, ended flat today amid volatility. They're dragging ahead of the release of major US jobs data. The Sensex, well, basically the same, down by just 30 points. The Nifty down by about 17 points. The Centre and the LIC, meanwhile, to privatize the IDBI Bank, will sell their combined 60.72% stake in other economic news. Well, the other big headline after the UK Home Secretary Suella Braverman has raised concerns about a proposed India-UK free trade agreement deal, saying that Indian immigrants are the ones who illegally overstay the most. There has been a pushback from India saying that there are larger issues with mobility and migration, which the UK hasn't addressed. Maha has this report.
As if the hassles faced by Indian students who were headed to the UK as far as visas were concerned were not enough, it now appears that visas, immigration and migrants are issues that are creating some last-minute hiccups in the India-UK FTA as well. A trade deal that is being keenly worked on by both sides to reach a Diwali deadline. But statements coming in from the UK, especially from Home Secretary Suella Braverman, seem to suggest that they have some serious reservations and concerns about Indians who have overstayed, and that's a sticking point now that is emerging as far as this entire deal is concerned. But India has responded to that as well. India has said that it is facilitating the return of citizens who have overstayed in the UK. Action has been initiated on any of the cases that the UK has intimated to the Indian mission, as well as the fact that India is pointing out that India awaits any kind of response from the UK on an agreement that they had signed last year as far as mobility is concerned. Moreover, the Indian side has said while negotiations are on, it's not good to be talking about specific issues. So what did Suella Braverman actually raise? Let's take a look at that. She says she has concerns over open border migration policy with India, and that that's not what people in the UK voted for when they looked at Brexit. And finally, what she has added is that the largest group of people who have overstayed are Indian migrants, to which the Indian side has responded. Let's also now quickly listen in to what the Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson had to say.
Whenever there's an Indian citizen abroad, we always strongly encourage legal migration, and if they need to come back, they will come back. But yes, there is a process for that, to have people come back and establish the identity and other elements.
Protests are continuing in Iran, though news coming out of there is severely repressed because of the internet being down and the fact that no independent media can report from there. These are the latest visuals coming out from various videos which are uploaded. But today, actor Priyanka Chopra spoke out in support of protests in Iran, saying that she is in awe of Iranian women's courage and purpose. In Instagram post, she says, "I stand with you," to the women of Iran, adding that women, life, freedom. Priyanka Chopra in solidarity with Iranian women in her post today. Let's go now, meanwhile, to the young Indian women making us all proud. The story really of the Indian women's football team, the under-17 football team, which will represent India as we host the first World Cup tournament ever by India, is a story of inspiration, grit and determination.
बहुत खुशी है गरीब छुआ आज आगे बढ़ गया है। बहुत गरीब आदमी है हम लोग, मार भात खाते थे, कभी मिलता तो हम लोग भात खाते नहीं तो उसने सूझ जाते।
Asha is thrilled. She hasn't had much reason to smile, but her daughter is her pride. From absolute poverty to taunts over wearing shorts to glass on the field to stop her from playing, Anita Kumari, the fourth girl amongst 5 sisters, has made it to the Under-17 World Cup team. Ashtam Oraon, the captain of the team, grew up in a remote Jharkhand village with no phone connectivity and irregular electricity supply. As she leads the team, her district police wishes her luck for the tournament. Ashtam's parents work in the fields and have struggled to make ends meet. Most of the team members have similar stories, but the focus is now on the game.
Yeah, they come from different backgrounds, but when you come to a football team, that doesn't matter at all. Here we are all the same. We are here for the same reason, and girls are working very hard together.
Union Minister Kiran Rijiju has appealed to the public to come and watch the girls play.
Do get your tickets for the matches and also do turn out in huge numbers to support our team. Wishing all the players and organizers the very best for this prestigious tournament.
For these young tigresses, getting to this point, participating in the World Cup has been a battle in itself. But now they go into the tournament with confidence as the nation prays for their success. With Hariban Sharma in Ranchi, Saurabh Gupta, NDTV.